Good. Well, why don't we go back to our discussion then of the open economy and finish up? Can you see the slides? Okay, good. So, uh, to wrap up our discussion from last week, let's take a look at a problem from last year. When you remember that North Ryan resigned in the spring and unexpectedly. So there was economic uncertainty that resulted. Now, suppose that the National Bank responds to this uncertainty by printing money in order to encourage people to spend. Then how do you think that this increase in pay will affect the exchange rate and income? What do you think will happen to the economy? And incidentally, this is realistic. The National Bank really did try to expand the money supply. So let's see what may happen next by going to the whiteboard. Okay, good. So here is our ISLM model for the open economy. So you remember that we will take the interest rate as given, that the central bank no longer can influence the interest rate because the global financial market is so large. But they can, if it wishes to do so, affect the exchange rate. To build the number of pennies that trade for a dollar. And here is output. But you recall that now our IS curve, which depicts the real sector, is rising with the exchange rate because a higher exchange rate suggests a weaker penny. And therefore people um, around the world are able to buy more synthetic stock. So as net exports increase with the exchange rate, overall output will increase as well. Hello, Yurzhan, can you hear me?
Hello, sir.
Hello. I hope you're feeling well. And here is the L1 schedule. You remember that the L1 schedule is reflecting the monetary sector. All along the schedule, money demand equals money supply. But we assume that the amount of money that people want to hold depends on the output, the income, in other words. It does not affect, it does not depend on the exchange rate. So the other term is vertical at the level of income that we have. Okay, now the national bank wants to increase money supply to be sure that people are still spending money in this period of uncertainty. What happens now in this story? Well, first, let's ask, But additional paying in circulation affect IS or LM? Does it affect the real sector, physical goods, or does it instead affect money supply and money demand? And of course, the answer is obvious. It affects money supply. So the increase in paying will shift the LM curve. Which way? What happens now? We now have on the initial LM curve, we had equilibrium. For example, if we had 3 trillion penny in circulation, people were willing to hold all 3 trillion penny. Money supply equal money demand. Now, the national bank has increased the money supply. So we'll note that over here. If I can spell, money supply equals money demand to begin with. Now, the bank PH penny. So money supply exceeds money demand along the initial Elvin schedule. Something has got to happen to increase money demand. What happens? Remembering that the amount of money that we are willing to hold depends on the interest rate according to R and also on income Y. Though we cannot change the interest rate, we have to take that as given because of the global financial market. So all that remains is that we have to increase Y. To raise money demand, Y must increase. That means that the new monetary schedule reflects the new money supply and the new money demand is shifting to the right of this Evan prime. Okay, so in equilibrium, we had begun at point A. And now, because we have more money, more income, and higher exchange rates, we move to point B. But so, what is the result of the National Bank's campaign to try to stimulate the economy by printing money? Does it work? Yes, indeed it does work. Output has risen, therefore income has risen as well. And we have a higher exchange rate, so net exports have increased. Those output, uh, those net exports help us to sustain a higher money demand. So there we have it. Monetary policy is powerful in the open economy when we have a floating exchange rate. By floating, I mean that the foreign exchange market is setting the exchange rate, not the national bank. Are you comfortable with what is happening in this story? Does it make sense? Let's try one more exercise and then we will move on to another piece of the monetary puzzle. Uh, this time, again, assume that we have uncertainty about where the economy is headed because of the coronavirus. But in this example, suppose that the National Bank does not respond by printing more money. So we have the same money supply as before, no change. What happens now in this story? Assume that uncertainty causes people to save the money for better times. They spend less than before. Okay, so now we have an episode that affects the real sector, but not the monetary sector. It does not affect money supply because the National Bank has decided not to respond, but to have a stable money supply this time. What is the consequence in the model, the Mundell model? Well, since people are spending less, factories and restaurants are spending less, there is a fall in the IS curve. For any exchange rate, people are spending less than before. So which way does the IS schedule move in this case? You can answer the question for a free talk for let us say. But let's see. Since output and income have decreased for any exchange rate, we must be moving to the left the original IS schedule. I'll call that IS prime. And here is a surprising result. We began at point A and then moved to point B like that. What happens now that I'll put in the exchange rate? Does output rise or fall or stay the same? Let's see. The fall in spending has reduced the ostensible demand for the tangy. Or to put it more directly, the fall in spending has weakened the tangy because people don't want to spend tangy as before. They're spending less. So we have a rise in the exchange rate. The exchange rate rises in the story. What happens then to net exports? What happens now? Uh, we have a rise in net exports, replacing the income that the economy had lost because of the reluctance to spend due to uncertainty, economic uncertainty. So the surprising, I think surprising result is that in equilibrium, output does not fall. It is the same as before. All that has changed is the composition of output. Domestic consumption has gone down, but net exports have gone up. No change in income for Kazakhstan. So that at least is a Mendel story to tell. You can think of this as a long run situation. Of course, in the short run, there may be for a while a loss of output because of the recession. Maybe a little bit here. But as the taking now is rising, you will have an increase in exports of oil and meat around the world. That's the story. So here is a check on the results. We should see that the monetary sector is back in equilibrium. So let's ask at point B, Does money supply equal money demand? Does that condition still hold? And of course, the answer is yes. We have the same money supply as before. Remember that the National Bank has not reacted this time. Money supply is the same, and this is what the demand the whole penny. Money demand is also the same as before because income is the same. National income in Kazakhstan. So in a money demand function, we have the same interest rate as before because Kazakhstan cannot influence it in any way in the long run. And we also have the same output as before. So everything checks out. This is a true equilibrium. Alright, so far. So we'll be all together on this. That according to the model, there are adjustments made to changes in spending that will sustain output over the long run. Good. Okay. Questions so far? So let's move on now. If you need it, there is a draft from the PowerPoint slide about the initial situation where the central bank had increased the supply of taking. There is a summary of our story. Monetary policy is more powerful than fiscal policy. You remember that fiscal policy means spending by the government of changes in taxation. And now, I'll put this on there. Now, let's expand our model of the economy by bringing in short-run changes in the interest rate. So, as before, we will assume that the long-run interest rate is set by world financial markets. Kazakhstan cannot influence that interest rate. It is too small. However, there may be short-run changes in the interest rate that we can consider. And the main point now will be that in the long run, the exchange rate of penny per dollar will relate inversely, that is in the opposite direction to the interest rate. If the interest rate is rising, the exchange rate is falling. And here's the reason for that negative relationship. Suppose that the government of Kazakhstan issues itself a bond, let's say for $1 million tenge. The government has a good, pretty good, but post-Soviet standards. The government has a good financial reputation, so people are eager to buy the bond. They expected to pay a high rate of return, lots of money in interest payments, coupon payments. But to buy the bond, people have to have taking. If your son wants to buy this bond, he will need $1 million taking. Therefore, the demand for the piggy will rise because people want the piggy in order to buy the asset. The rise in demand for the piggy will strengthen the currency. The piggy can buy more dollars than before. It is appreciated, and therefore the exchange rate is going down because the exchange rate is measuring the number of piggy that trade for $1. So you remember that if the exchange rate rises, the piggy is becoming weaker. So it is straightforward to conclude that when the exchange rate goes down, it is strengthening. So then you have it. Higher interest rates stimulate interest among financial investors in Kazakhstan's assets, but bonds from your sultan. The interest rate rises and demand for the bonds will rise as well. But to buy the bonds, people have got to have the penny. So the penny appreciates, becomes stronger relative to the dollar. Therefore, the exchange rate will go down. All right, so far on the basic story. So here is the exchange rate graphed against the interest rate. The higher the interest rate, moving in this direction, the lower the exchange rate in this short run. So they are going to permit a temporary changes in the exchange rate, that is, in the short run. That brings us to an interesting condition, I think, the interest parity condition. And here's the story this time. We have already seen that money moves very easily around the world because the internet has connected all the various potential markets. This means that if our interest rate is below the interest rate in the United States, then money will move from Kazakhstan to the US. So this example, our interest rate is 2%, but if 3% in the US, people will take the money out of Kazakhstan and invest it in US assets to enjoy the higher interest rate. Okay, so far nothing new. The new element now is that the interest rate may also respond to expectations about the exchange rate. So Iqbal is a financial investor. He's a billionaire, but he expects that in the months to come, the piggy will weaken perhaps because of lower oil prices. So this is rather realistic. If people is not willing to hold or weaker asset or weaker piggy than before unless he is compensated for the weaker piggy. Therefore, an expectation of a devaluation of the piggy will cause people to demand a higher interest on the assets that he is buying with those piggy. So therefore, there is a positive relationship between the expectation of the exchange rate and the short run interest rate in Kazakhstan. So here is the formula. Here is the interest rate in Kazakhstan. Here is the interest rate in the United States. Now, uh, suppose that this term over here is zero for just a minute. In that case, our interest rate is the same as the American interest rate because otherwise money is going to flow either from Pakistan to the US or the other way around. So in long run equilibrium, people have the same interest rate in both countries. However, now consider the expected exchange rate. This is capital E. And then the actual exchange rate is small e here. If we expect the exchange rate to rise by 5%, investors in Kazakhstan will demand a rise in the interest rate of 5% as compensation. So the moral of the story is very simple. If people think that the penny are going to weaken, they will demand higher interest rates on the assets that they buy with the penny. And here is an example that you may remember from a few years ago. In the financial crisis of 2009, in the bad old days, the exchange rate was 150 pennies per dollar. But by August 2015, people were expecting severe devaluation. They were expecting the exchange rate to double to 300 pennies. So let's look at the impact of that expectation on the interest rate. If people are expecting the exchange rate to double from 150 to 300, and therefore they expect goods that they can buy on world markets with their penny to cost twice as much as they had in 2009. So, for example, suppose that a newspaper costs $1 in the United States. Back in 2009, that newspaper would have cost 150 pennies to exchange the penny for $1 and then buy the newspaper. Now, in 2015, The newspaper costs 300 tenge. That's the expectation. So if we expect the exchange rate to rise, if we expect the tenge to weaken, we will demand a higher interest rate as compensation for the loss of goods that we can buy overseas with tenge. Okay, so let's try some examples of this interest parity condition. And this book was happened in August 2015 when the National Bank had begun to fault this changing. Now, at this time, everybody knows that the tenge was going to weaken. That they had known for years that sooner or later the central bank would have to permit the tenge to be devalued. So let's ask what may happen to the interest rate because of the decision to permit the tenge before being set by the foreign exchange market. So let's go to the whiteboard and think about this problem. So I'm going to free up a little bit of real estate. Real estate on the whiteboard. Okay, so here is an interest parity condition. The interest rate in Pakistan, I'll call it RTZ, is equal to the interest rate in the United States of plus the expected rate of devaluation in the tenge. So I'm going to write this as a fraction. Here is the expected exchange rate and here is the actual exchange rate, E, divided by the actual exchange rate so that they're looking at the expected rate of increase in the exchange rate. Okay, so for example, suppose that the expected exchange rate is equal to the actual exchange rate. Then, in other words, the expectation is equal to the actual rate. What is the interest rate in Pakistan now? Using our interest parity condition. Let's see. Uh, the expected rate equals the actual rate, so this numerator goes to zero. and therefore the interest rate in Kazakhstan is equal to the interest rate in the United States. Now, let's go back to our question about what happened in August of 2015. To prove that people already, that even before the vote, people expect the penny per dollar exchange rate to increase. So after the vote begins, there is no change in the expectation. Um, However, after the vote begins, the actual exchange rate is rising. As you remember, up to the 300 penny and even beyond that. What happens now to the interest rate in Kazakhstan? According to the interest parity condition, well, um, an easy way to see this is to rewrite the interest parity condition very simply. Okay, so now we can uh, concentrate on the impact of the actual exchange rate. We said that the expectation has not changed, but of course the actual exchange rate uh, rises like a market after the float begins. The rise in E, the actual exchange rate, causes the interest rate in Pakistan to fall. Because of the inverse relationship that we just talked about. So as the interest rate falls, assets denominated in piggy are less profitable than before. They do not pay such a high interest rate. Therefore, people do not buy those bonds from Kazakhstan. That means that the demand for the penny will fall and the exchange rate will devalue as a consequence. So if we put that story over here, the fall in the interest rate in Kazakhstan causes the demand to weaken for assets pay off in penny. So the demand for penny in order to buy assets in Kazakhstan goes down. And thus the tenge will weaken. That is, the exchange rate will rise. Okay, so far. So let's try one more puzzle. Suppose that we have an equilibrium in the foreign exchange market. That is, suppose that the expected exchange rate equals the exchange, the actual exchange rate. Now we have a fall in the interest rate in the United States. What happens now to the interest rate in Kazakhstan? Well, the sort of thing that could happen pretty quickly in the months to come because the Federal Reserve is under pressure to stimulate the economy. But let's see, in the interest parity condition, the expected exchange rate equals the actual exchange rate. So this goes to zero. This entire term drops out. Then that means that our interest rate equals the American interest rate because, because of arbitrage. That condition holds. If the US interest rate falls in this scenario, the interest rate in Kazakhstan will fall as well. Again, if we assume that the expected exchange rate equals the actual one. Okay, so far. So the main thing to remember in this story is this. In the short run, we have a negative relationship between the interest rate and the exchange rate because higher interest rates denote a lower exchange rate that is a stronger tenge. There is the relationship graphically, and then I will summarize it down here. A higher interest rate in Kazakhstan connotes that it implies a lower exchange rate of tenge per dollar. Because investors demand for payday there was. There's a simple financial story of questions, opportunities to make millions of dollars on the financial market that you can think of. Good. Then I will stop there since I've been over time last time by 20 minutes. I will stop I will stop right now. Questions? So remember that the midterm is in 2 weeks from today for macroeconomics. Yuzhan, how are you doing? Are you feeling okay? Okay. So